Before we get into today's proposal, let me say this clearly. Your voice matters, and I know so many of you have told me exactly what you want. You want cost of living adjustments that actually match the inflation you feel at the grocery store, not watered down increases that leave you falling behind. You want a guarantee that Medicare costs won't jump again in 2026, eating away at the Social Security raise you just received. And you want assurance that critical programs like SNAP and Medicaid won't be cut, because those are lifelines that millions rely on every single day. And here's the truth. These things don't change on their own. They change when people like you speak up. History proves it. In 1989, seniors demanded Congress repeal the Medicare Catastrophic Coverage Act, and lawmakers caved in less than a year. In 2005, Social Security privatization was stopped because retirees filled town halls with their voices. In 2017, the push to repeal the Affordable Care Act failed after ordinary Americans flooded their representatives with calls and letters. That's why I'm telling you now, don't stay silent. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What needs to change most? COLA increases, Medicare costs, SNAP and Medicaid protections. Write it down, because when thousands of us speak together, Washington has no choice but to listen. And while you're here, hit that like button and subscribe to Social Security Post so your voice doesn't just stay in the comments. It becomes part of a growing movement. Now picture this. It's the 90th anniversary of the Social Security Act, signed by Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1935. Instead of just hosting ceremonies or issuing statements, a group of lawmakers uses the day to launch a new fight. Senator Bernie Sanders, alongside Senators Ron Wyden and Chuck Schumer, introduces the Keep Billionaires Out of Social Security Act. To some, the title sounds dramatic, but to these senators, it's about drawing attention to something urgent, what they describe as disastrous cuts to the Social Security Administration made under the Trump administration. By choosing this symbolic date, they're reminding Americans that Social Security was created as a lifeline, not something to be weakened. The stakes are very real. Millions of seniors and disabled Americans depend on SSA not only for monthly checks, but also for help with appeals, overpayment disputes, and benefits applications. When SSA doesn't function well, it's not an inconvenience. It can mean missed rent, skipped medications, or families going without essentials. That's why this bill isn't framed as just another piece of legislation. It's presented as a rescue mission to bring the system back in line with its original purpose, serving everyday workers and retirees, not the wealthy few. At its heart, this proposal is about undoing administrative cuts that lawmakers argue made life harder for seniors and people with disabilities. Over the last several years, SSA has faced shrinking budgets, fewer staff, and office closures. These changes didn't just slow things down, they created barriers between Americans and the benefits they earned through years of work. This bill seeks to reverse those problems by restoring funding, hiring staff, and stopping closures of field offices without congressional approval. For everyday people, this translates into practical improvements: more staff answering phones, shorter lines at local offices, and faster responses to applications or appeals. Imagine being able to call SSA and actually speak to someone within minutes, instead of sitting on hold for an hour. Picture being able to walk into a nearby office instead of driving hours across the state. That's what the sponsors of this bill want to deliver: basic dignity and efficiency in government service. When lawmakers call the cuts disastrous, they aren't just speaking in political language. They're describing what seniors and disabled people actually face every day. Over the past several years, wait times on SSA phone lines stretched longer and longer. Some offices closed, leaving rural Americans with no easy way to get in-person help. Disability claims piled up, creating massive backlogs, and overpayment letters arrived in mailboxes with confusing instructions and little support, leaving vulnerable families panicked about losing benefits. These problems may sound like red tape, but for real people, they mean the difference between stability and crisis. Think of a retiree waiting months for a decision while their savings run out, or a disabled worker spending hours on hold just to be told to call back tomorrow, or a widow denied help because the nearest SSA office was shut down. That's the human cost of underfunding SSA, and that's what this proposal promises to repair. If this legislation succeeds, the benefits for seniors and disabled Americans will be immediate and visible. More staff means faster claim processing and shorter wait times. Reopened or protected field offices mean more places to get in-person assistance, especially for people without reliable internet. And a stronger budget means SSA can modernize its systems to prevent the errors that lead to overpayment notices or benefit interruptions. For you, that could mean being able to call SSA on a Monday morning and resolve an issue in one call instead of waiting weeks. It could mean being able to walk into a local office and sit with someone who explains your paperwork clearly. It could even mean faster appeals for disability claims, reducing the months of stress so many families endure. These may seem like small operational fixes, but together they restore the dignity and reliability Social Security is supposed to provide. The bold name of this bill is no accident. By calling it the Keep Billionaires Out of Social Security Act, Sanders and his allies are framing the issue around fairness. Social Security was designed as a safety net for workers and retirees who depend on it. Billionaires don't need monthly checks to survive, but under current rules, they can still technically collect them. The bill's sponsors want to send a clear message. This program is for the people who need it most, not those at the very top. This framing also has political strategy behind it. By putting billionaires in the spotlight, Sanders is pushing the debate toward a choice. Should scarce resources go to those who built fortunes, or toward strengthening the safety net for seniors who worked their whole lives? Even if some parts of the bill face political hurdles, this language shapes public opinion and makes it harder for opponents to argue against restoring SSA services without looking like they're defending billionaires. For people on Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI, this bill could reduce the burden of constant reviews and paperwork that often feel excessive. More staff and better systems mean smoother processing and fewer delays when you submit documentation. For people on Supplemental Security Income, SSI, especially low-income seniors and disabled individuals, better field office access could prevent benefits from being interrupted just because paperwork got lost or wasn't explained clearly. Think of how stressful it is to get an overpayment notice demanding thousands of dollars you don't actually owe. With a better funded SSA, staff could resolve those errors faster. Or imagine a parent applying for SSI for a disabled child, getting help in days instead of months. These are not small fixes. They're life-changing improvements for millions of households who rely on Social Security as their primary income source. Of course, passing any bill in Congress is never simple. This proposal must go through committees, debates, and potential amendments. There will be arguments about cost, about what counts as a cut, and about whether billionaires should be excluded. The sponsors, Sanders, Wyden, and Schumer, have significant influence, but they'll still need votes beyond their own party to move this forward. That's where public pressure becomes critical. This is exactly why your voice matters. Staffers track comments, calls, and letters. When they see thousands of people demanding better SSA services, it strengthens lawmakers' hands in committee rooms and floor debates. Even if the bill doesn't pass in its current form, strong constituent pressure often leads to pieces of it being adopted in other funding bills or appropriations packages. Your comment here is the first step in showing that this isn't just a Washington talking point, it's a nationwide demand. So, what should you be watching for? First, look for committee hearings. If this bill gets scheduled, that's a sign it's being taken seriously. Next, watch for fact sheets or cost estimates that outline how the changes would work. Finally, look for signs of bipartisan support. Even small wins, like additional funding in the annual SSA budget, can make a huge difference in your experience as a beneficiary. And remember, even if this bill doesn't pass immediately, that doesn't mean the effort is wasted. Often, bills like this set the stage for future negotiations. They shape the debate, move public opinion, and sometimes lead to piecemeal victories, like funding boosts, office protections, or specific service improvements tucked into other legislation. The bottom line, change is possible when people keep speaking up. Here's where you come in. Social Security only improves when the people who depend on it refuse to stay silent. Comment below with your top priority, whether it's COLA increases that match inflation, protecting SNAP and Medicaid, stopping Medicare cost hikes in 2026, or making SSA more responsive. I'll highlight your voices in future videos and make sure lawmakers know what beneficiaries are demanding. Together, we can send a clear message to Congress. Seniors and disabled Americans deserve dignity, not delays. If this video helped you understand what's at stake, please hit that like button and subscribe to Social Security Post for more updates. Share this with a friend who depends on Social Security, because when more voices join the conversation, Washington is forced to listen. Your voice matters. Be heard. Be counted.